Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to do a single drop stitch. Now to do this, you just pick your cast on of choice. It just depends on the project you're working on. I did a couple, this was a cast on I did for a different project, but I did a couple rows of just E-wrap just to get it going. But really all of that is up to you. But to do the drop stitch, what you're going to do is you're going to E-wrap 2 pegs. You take the bottom loop over the top on the second peg. You're going to re-wrap that second peg and wrap another one. So each time you're wrapping 2 pegs. And you're only taking off the second one. And since you are double wrapping the one peg, this is not a stitch that you can do the whole row and then come back to taking your bottoms over the tops. I mean, you can, the second part of it you do, but just this initial part you can't. Hope that made sense. Alright, so E-wrap, E-wrap, take off the second, re-wrap and E-wrap, take off the second, which I'll do this all the way down to the end of the row. Like I said, this one is for a single drop stitch. You can do a single, double, triple, which I'll show you in a separate video the differences. Okay, now our last peg just has 1 on it. We will put the second, a double on it on the way back. But now, all the pegs that we'd actually wrapped a second time, that we left this yarn on, you just go back and you actually, I've got a hold of 2 strands there. You take that top loop off. You're not taking the bottom over the top, you're completely taking off that top loop. Now that itself, this right here, is the drop stitch, and that's all there is to it. But I am going to show you what I like to do. You're going to have all these loops back here. Just ignore them for now. Once you get more, when you get this longer, then you can just kind of pull on it and it'll pull all those out to where they're not in the way. But what I like to do is, I'm just going to do, you can either do a row of E-wrap, a row of purl, you can mix it up, but just something to lock those stitches in. Because when you get to practice this yourself, you're going to notice this row is pretty loose. So I'm just doing an E-wrap. See how some of these are very, very, very loose. And you got to make sure you push them over so that they stay. And then you just go right back to your wrapping. Which, wrap 1 peg, wrap 2, take off the second. So wrap 2 pegs, take off the second, wrap 2 pegs, take off the second, and that is all you do to do the single drop stitch. You wrap your 2 pegs and you take off the second all the way down to the end of the row. I mean, right now if you want, you can go ahead and take these loops off now. It's not going to mess anything up. If I stop where I'm working and have to come back to it, and I've taken those off, sometimes I have a little bit of trouble figuring out exactly which direction I was going in. If I'm doing one where I'm doing the drop stitches back and forth, that would be a situation if I was doing like a little bit of a garter ridge in between each section of drop stitches. But for this one, you just wrap 2 and you take that second one, the bottom over the top, and then you When you get to the end, you go back and take all the tops off. We're not taking the bottom over the top, just that top loop. That is the drop aspect of the stitch, because we are dropping it off the peg. And then it's optional, but I go back and I lock my stitches in. With this one, I'm just doing an E-wrap. You can do a purl stitch, you can do just every once in a while in a project, do a row of drop stitches. I mean, all of that is really up to you. But I'm going to do a few rows of this just so you can see exactly how it's done. A few sets of it, and now you can see how it looks. And remember, I did the one row of E-wrap in between. And it is a textured pattern where it does have a definite front and back. If you do not want it to have a definite front and back and you want it to be reversible, then I would do a row of E-wrap and then a row of purl. Because then you would have it textured on both sides. As you can see, doing with just one row of E-wrap, one side is flat and the other side has these really nice ridges on it. Now that is just a single drop stitch. Alright, that's all I have for that one. Of course, you do the project, you just use the stitch in any project you want. They're cute to add, you know, a couple rows of drop stitch in a hat. It'll give it more of like a lace look to it, and it will make it look a lot more intricate. You can do them in blankets. I actually have a beginning and video for, it's called a completely cozy wool blanket, I think. Honestly, it's done on a different loom, but on this loom with all the pegs in, using a worsted weight yarn, it would look a lot more intricate and it would look a lot nicer than the one in the video does, just because it's done with like a super bulky weight yarn and it all just kind of blends together. But if you did it and just did the single drop stitches instead of the double drop stitches in it, like, see how nice that looks right there? You can get a really neat looking blanket that way. Okay, that's all I have for the single drop stitch. Any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below, or you can email me, and my email address is below as well. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.